So, how do you win two national championships in a decade that only has 3 years, and you're not one of the top two teams in that decade? So, yeah, listen, I love Bill Connolly at ESPN. I think he's doing a great job. I read it. I read it more than I read a lot of other stuff. I'm not saying I read it every single time, but he's got Georgia as the number three program of the 2020s. That just makes no sense. I mean, I understand this analytics, but uh, no, definitely not. So the proof is in the pudding that, you know, I mean, to be honest with you, there's several. I mean, like Iowa is a top 10 team this decade. No, they're not. So there's something really wrong with some of this stuff. Now I know he's gonna make the argument that this is SP plus driven, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Let me make sure I read what he points out about here. It's possible we are witnessing a concentration of power nearer at the top of the sport. No question about that part. Something that expansion of a 12-team playoff might not address, or it's possible we're just witnessing another similar act in college football's history. It is, after all, a sport that has forever been lorded over by a ruling class of dominant schools. One of those schools is Georgia, by the way. And I'm going to talk about this on another video. But the Dogs are one of only, I think, 10 teams, maybe, that have had really good decades, multiple, 4 times or more. And when you look at the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s, Georgia is the only one they're missing there is the 80s. Excuse me, is the 90s. So that's another story for another time. But I don't really know. I know that's not what he's saying here, but I just want to say this real quick. It is ludicrous to say someone other than Georgia is the program of the decade right now. And I'll be honest, they may have already won this decade with 2 national championships. And we don't know what the rest of the decade is going to be like. We've seen, every decade is not going to be like the 2010s and the 2000s. Most decades, I would say, are like the 80s and the 90s, where one program wins multiple championships, and that's it. In the 2010s, you saw Alabama and Clemson both win multiple national championships. And this is going off memory now. In the 2000s, you saw USC, you saw Florida, you saw, am I leaving somebody out? LSU. I was leaving someone out. So you had more national championships to win in the 2000s, but, it may be that it's not like that moving forward. It may be that we see a very disrupting force in the college football playoff, and that Georgia may add another national championship in the next 4 or 5 years, and then you see scatters. Florida State wins one, Texas wins one, SC wins one, Ohio State and Michigan won one each, and then you're not that far from the end of the decade. So I think we're far enough into this thing to say it's very possible this could be Georgia's decade already. I think that's premature. Anyway, pick up Double Dogs today, and you're going to get our 2023 preview edition. You can pick this up at Red Zone. They just got a pile of books. So get this before this sort of offer runs out. We've been doing it for a while, and we're going to be changing it up soon. So if you want both, the one way to do it right now is get your Double Dogs, and you get the magazine for free. This has been a heck of a run. And, for the record, let me read off the 2020s for you in reverse order. And you can kind of, we'll dig into this. The top 4 are correct. I'll tell you that right now. But anyway, Cincinnati at 10. Cincinnati's had a very good decade. I don't think there's much question about that. Utah at 9. I love Utah. I think they are a dangerous team. I thought they'd win the Pac-12 last year. They did. I guess I thought it was going to come down to them and Oregon, which it did not. But anyway, Iowa at 8 makes no sense. They have not mattered in any way in college football in a very long time. Notre Dame at 7. I don't really have a comment about that. It feels like Notre Dame. I don't know if I could say that, but I'd have to go look a little harder. Oklahoma, the next two are both, probably deserving of top 10, but it ain't looking so hot lately. Oklahoma at 6, the coaching change at OU has really, I'm real concerned there. I think I've said this many times. I'm not the only one. I don't think we are in, I don't think we're in Billy Napier, Florida territory, but we might be actually with OU. People I know that are around that pro. I don't know a lot of people at OU, but people I know that know people at OU, they are saying the Sooner insiders are beyond concerned. So this better go quick in the right direction, or they're going to have to start over there. Clemson, Clemson is in the. Clemson seems to be in the trickiest situation here because once you don't win in a big way, people want to undercut what you did while you were winning. And I don't know if it's an indictment that with one of the best quarterbacks we've seen lately in Trevor Lawrence, that Clemson won one national championship, or any national championship you win is success. I think it's the second one. I think any national championship you win is success. But there's no doubt that they're going the wrong way. I mean, there's no question. My Clemson in-laws, my friends that are Clemson people, they know it. They felt it. My wife has felt that for some time, that there's a problem there. But she doesn't really vocalize that. She doesn't vocalize a lot, actually. She's very quiet. Michigan at 3. I think this is a little, Michigan at 4. I think this is a little low, I have to say. Michigan has been a better program in the 2020s than Ohio State. Period. Number 3, Georgia. Again, that makes no sense. I mean, there's just no scenario where that makes sense. Now, I understand, again, with the caveat here, it's SP plus, but man, damn, Bill. I don't know, I don't know. The other thing that's doesn't make sense here from your methodology is, 2 of the best 5 teams in the decade are Georgia teams, you say. 2 of the best 5 teams in the decade are Alabama teams, which I'm not going to, whatever. And then one of them is Michigan. Well, how in the world is Ohio State getting past them? It's like you got the Soviet judge giving everybody a 4 or something like that. I don't know what's going on with the math there. And I'm a math person. I'm an analytics person. I understand 1 + 1 = 2, not 3, like Kirby likes to say, whatever. Ohio State at 2. No, it doesn't make sense. They're definitely top 4. I mean, these are the 4 programs. And then you put Alabama at 1. I don't understand, it does go down to championships. I mean, if we're talking about the teams of the decade, so the article, and Bill may not like when it comes down to me, when you have 2 of the 5 are from Georgia, 2 of them are from Alabama, of the best 5 in the decade, and 1 is from Michigan, the math simply does not make sense. I mean, like the 2020 Georgia team, which finished number 8, would have to have been like a 3-7 team, which they were not, in order for it to be so bad that they are getting, outclassed like that. Like, this just doesn't make sense. I don't know if he made the headline or not. I don't know how it works, the ESPN, I have to say. So I don't know if he creates his own headline. Maybe he did. I don't know. But like for reference, the team of the 90s was Florida State, and then Nebraska, and then the Gators, and then Tennessee. I have to say, that sure seems right to me. I mean, I'm just going to say. And then when you get to the 2000s, you have Texas as your number 1 team. And there's no way Texas was the best program. I mean, they just weren't. I mean, to me, it's either LSU or Florida. They both won two national championships in that time. Texas won 1 on the final play of the game. It still counts, but no. I mean, in a way, this shows how much Texas has collapsed or how much they underachieved in the 2000s. But whatever, he's got the Dogs at 6 in the 2000s. That's probably about right. The 2010s, he's got Alabama, which is, if you don't have Alabama as your number one at the time, that just doesn't make any sense to me. He has Clemson at 7. I mean, if there was ever a decade to have Clemson in your top 2, it would have to be the 2010s. I don't, he's got Ohio State at 2. They won a national championship in 14. Yeah, and LSU win the national championship in. They didn't win the national championship in 2010. So I think part of this is my bias towards championships. In the 2010s, Wisconsin was not a better program than Clemson. So I don't again, I know these are S&P, and they've got Texas A&M in the top 10. No. I mean, I would argue it's a problem for the South Carolina is at the end of the decade, they just were trash. But certainly if you're cutting this thing off at 2015, South Carolina would be a top 10 in this period of time. So I'm not sure what we're really doing here with this. I know it's list, but y'all, it's list season, y'all. It's June. So there's just nothing we can do about that.